Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Pub Street Experience. My name is Chris, and we are gathered for a little bit of a 2024 look back, reach around. We're going to reach all the way back to 2024, but we're only going to focus on the good news. It is a good news kind of story. 2024 had some highs, had a lot of lows. We're focusing on the positive. We're going to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, and latch on to the alternative. We will not be messing with Mr. In Between.
You didn't write that.
Got to accentuate the positive, eliminate negative, latch on to the affirmative, not alternative. Affirmative?
No, it's latch on to the affirmative. Yeah.
Yeah, I said alternative earlier.
Did you? I didn't even notice.
What is that from?
That's the 90s rock cover of that song.
I think of it from the Mighty Ducks. They play it in the Mighty Ducks at some point, I think.
God.
I could be way off on that, but that's for whatever reason what I think of it.
No, we're definitely 90s kids. We're going to go ahead. We've got a fun game. Let's go ahead. Let's meet our contestants. First up, Huntsville, Alabama. Mike Mott, my friend. How you doing? What are you drinking?
Chris, I'm doing great. It has been a long time since we've recorded because of holidays and everything else, and I'm super happy to be back on, and I am very excited to be popping this particular beer because I bought this beer back in probably May or June. It was the warm weather months, and I said, you know what? I'm going to store this in a cool place, and I'm busting it out for the wintertime. I did not intend this to be my first beer of 2025. It just happened to work out that way. But this is it is an imperial stout brewed with peanut butter, chocolate, and vanilla. Ooh. So very much a cold weather beer, fitting for a 30-some degree night that we're having tonight. It is from the Westbrook Brewing Company. It's called Adjunct Assault the Third, I believe, or number 3. So I guess this is not the first in the series. And best of all, it is 13% ABV. So
holy crap.
You guys are going to see Fun Mike tonight. And I'm going to learn a lot because, frankly, I was in a bit of a fog in 2024, and I have a feeling a lot of these stories eluded me.
Please, adjunct whatever number 2 is my father.
Not only is that a high alcohol beer, it's a large can.
Like, it's a full pint. It's not a 12er. Yeah.
No, it's just Mike is short. So
I was resisting making that joke.
I'm okay to make that joke.
She is.
Or saying that Tim is above that. Mike is not.
If I do it, it's bullying. If Brittany does it, it's punching across.
Up a little bit, actually. Mike's taller than me.
A little bit.
All right, well, there she is. You heard her, you know her, you love her. Brittany Shaw, my friend. How you doing? What are you drinking?
I am doing fantastic. I'm so happy to be spending time with 3 people that I know, 2 of which are my favorite. I'll let you figure out the third. No, it's Tim. Tim's the third.
Obviously.
Usually.
No, I actually took off a couple days this week from work because before that I worked about 50 plus hours a week for the prior 6 weeks. So I'm tired. Like, I'm starting 2025 the way I ended 2024, exhausted and a bit confused. But I am thrilled to be here. As far as what I'm drinking, I also bought something a while back. I don't remember when. I think it was like August or September, was when I was up visiting with Aaron in the Twin Cities. And I picked up a few things that I thought would be fun to pop open on the show. Just haven't had a chance to pop them all open yet. So I have from... I don't know. Look, I forget what the name of the brewery is and I can't find it. So it's Dragon's Milk, but it is Dragon's Milk Tales of Gold, which is their bourbon barrel aged golden ale with milk sugar.
Dragon's Milk, isn't that New Belgium?
I thought that was New Belgium too, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, but then I also wanted to say New Glarus, which I was pretty sure was wrong. And I just decided not to guess. But I thought I was going to have the highest ABV on the podcast tonight at 11%, but Mike got me beat there. So I might be slightly more sober than Mike by the end of this.
Yeah, it's New Holland, not
New Holland.
Belgium.
Yeah,
I knew it was New something. You know.
New Holland Brewery.
It's
Um,
Nanu Holland.
yeah. No, it was either going to be I bust this out for PTE or I bust it out for Dungeons and Dragons, and I haven't actually made it to a session yet, so I thought I would just go ahead and do that. Eventually, I plan to make it to a session. It just hasn't worked yet. So,
Well, at 11%, it's decidedly not a session beer.
Jeez.
I think that's the first dad joke that's been made to me in 2025. Definitely not the first one made around me because I've made a lot.
Yeah.
So can't even say I haven't made any since last year because
No, we all know that's
I
not
started making them before it was actually midnight here. I
Yeah.
made dad jokes to people for whom it was already 2025.
true.
I just want to say I found out just now that Dragon's Milk makes a small batch bourbon.
Oh,
I want to try that.
It's
wonder-
called Dragon's Milk Origin and is 95 proof.
Ooh.
that's a lot of proof.
I would drink that. I've never even heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't drink 16 ounces of it, though.
No.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, depending on
Yeah,
what
for
else you
Chris.
got going on that night.
That week.
I, for one, have always wanted to see Chris try to dance on his desk. I think that's the secret. Coyote Ugly style, Chris. Just
You could have left it at try to dance, and it would have been like, yeah.
Why am I catching strays? Hey, Tim, by the way, this is trending towards a 3-hour recording, just so you know.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sorry.
But Tim, my friend, Fayetteville, North Carolina, how you doing? What are you drinking?
Hey, Chris, I am doing well. I haven't been on PTE. It's been a couple of months.
Not since last year.
But I am drinking. It's something adjacent to what I drink on a regular basis. It's from New Belgium. It's in the Voodoo Ranger line, but it is their Cryo Ranger IPA made with cryo hops, which I have no idea what those are, but
They're
It's
stored in the
some-
Disney vault next to Walt's head.
okay. But yeah, so let's see how this is. I haven't tried this one yet. It was a stocking stuffer. My wife put beer in my stocking because she knows me, and
Santa put beer in your stocking, Tim.
because he knows me. Yes.
Yeah.
Solid. I'll take
Yep.
it.
Interesting.
It's a 7.8%, but it kind of has a taste like it's a session. It is a much lighter taste. So
There you go.
we'll see how this goes.
Well, my turn, I suppose.
You, sir.
This is from Angry Chair Brewing right here in Tampa, Florida. I've had one of them before. It might have been on this show. Probably was on this show, but this is the Infinite Dunks. It's a cookies and cream stout. It is a wonderful beer.
Ooh.
And it is in the 50s here in Florida, maybe the high 40s tonight. So it's definitely stout
freezing.
weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's snowing here in Illinois.
Mhm.
I look outside my window and I remember that I was supposed to get in contact with my landlord today about picking up the keys to my garage.
That did not happen.
No, it did not.
Well, we have got a few rounds of trivia to play with. So the way tonight's game is going to go is we've got an opening round, each question worth 1 point each. All of our contestants will play every question, by the way. Lock-in rules will apply. After that, we'll have our round 2 will be a 10 question round. Then we'll have our halftime. Round 4 at that point will be a 10 question round. Then we'll have our wager round. So we're going to start an opening round, round 1. Each of these questions is worth 1 point each. By the way, I should mention tonight's game is written by the wonderful Sara Callori from the Frenemy Trivia Podcast. Great job with this. I had a lot of fun reading it, and I'm going to have a lot of fun hosting this. Lock in when you're ready. Who won this thing in 2024? Question number 1, the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Locked in.
Locked in.
Locked in.
Mike?
Oppenheimer.
Tim?
Oppenheimer.
Brittany?
Should have been Barbie, but it was Oppenheimer.
Should not have been Barbie. Oppenheimer is a correct answer.
Don't make me fight you, Chris.
As much as I'd like to see that, we're just going to move on to question number 2.
Save it for SporkleCon.
We will. Question number 2. Who won this thing? The 2024 Album of the Year at the Grammys.
Locked in.
Locked in?
See, this is funny because Tim mentioned before the episode, he asked us if we had done any prep, to which Brittany and I both replied no. And Tim said, well, the only thing I did is I went and looked up who won all the things. I did not. Grammy for Album of the Year would have been for 2023, I think. I really do not know. So I think Cowboy Carter came out last year, so that's what I'll say.
All right, Tim.
Before I talk, is a question coming up record of the year before I risk spoiling an answer? Because there's record and album.
Not that I see it. I don't remember seeing
Okay.
it on the episode later.
So I owe it. You said you don't remember seeing it on the episode?
I don't, but also the title of the record's in the answer, so it's not.
Well, right, but record of the year and album of the year are two different ones. So I'm hoping I got them straight, because I think record of the year was Flowers by Miley Cyrus, but album of the year was Midnights by Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Brittany.
Yeah, I was pretty much hoping it was Taylor Swift with Midnights. And Mike, I do believe Cowboy Carter did come out last year, but literally like last year in 2024.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
all right. Midnights by Taylor Swift is a correct answer.
I forgot that was 2023 because she's already got another one. It's like,
yep.
She's just too prolific. I can't keep up.
Hot take, Midnights was better.
I agree, but I mean, I think a lot of folks do. But anyway.
Question number 3. Who won the Super Bowl in 2024?
Locked in?
God, didn't the Chiefs win it again this year? I'll say Chiefs.
Tim.
It was Mr. Taylor Swift himself, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
Brittany.
Yeah, I was going to say Mr. Taylor Swift, but Tim took that joke. So Travis Kelce, who I believe plays wide receiver, maybe. No,
Close.
he doesn't.
Nope.
Is he a tight end?
He's a tight end.
He is a tight end.
Well, I was close in that I picked a football position, but the Chiefs.
Chiefs is a correct answer. We're going to move on to question number 4. Who won this in 2024? The 2024 Emmy for Best Drama Series.
Locked in.
I'll lock in.
I'm not sure, and I may be thinking too far back, but I feel like maybe it was The Last of Us, so I'm going to say The Last of Us.
Mike.
This actually might be comedy series instead of drama series or something like that, but I think The Bear won a lot of things, so I locked in with The Bear.
Tim.
Best drama was Shogun.
Oh.
Mike, I can't believe you didn't think about this, but The Bear is a comedy. It's the funniest show on television.
I've never seen it.
The only
I have
reason
no
I
idea.
didn't pick The Bear was because I've seen a number of comedians be like, The Bear's not even a comedy.
Don't tell me you picked The Man.
No, I picked The Last of Us.
Shogun is
Technically
what
Pedro
we're looking
Pascal.
for, though. Tim.
I was making a man versus bear
I know.
Bear. Oh,
joke.
But I
Gotcha.
wasn't going
She
to
said
say
she
it in
picked
case
the-
it came up. So
Oh my God. All right. We're moving on.
God,
Question
that
number
was probably
5.
this past year too. Anyway.
The 2024 Tony for Best New Musical.
Locked in.
also locked in.
Yeah, I can't even name a musical that came out this year. So I'm just gonna pass.
Brittany.
I believe this was The Outsiders.
Tim.
It was definitely The Outsiders.
It was The Outsiders. All right.
My studying is paying off.
Let's see if that keeps your piece going here. Tim, Brittany, and Mike, all three of you.
Okay.
Who won the WNBA Finals?
I'll lock in.
Yeah, I'll lock in.
I think this was the New York Liberty.
Brittany.
I was between two teams, the New York Liberty and the Connecticut Sun. Even though the Connecticut Sun has married players and I wanted to pick them, I ended up going with like one of the dopest mascots out there, Ellie, and so I'm going with New York Liberty.
Mike.
For some reason, I thought it was the team from Las Vegas whose name I can't remember, so I'm just saying Las Vegas.
The Las Vegas Aces were like the 2 or 3 in a row before this year.
Okay, gotcha. And I was thinking it was the Aces, but I didn't want to lock in to be because I wasn't sure.
It would be the New York Liberty. Tim and Brittany getting points. All right. Question number 7. I'm going to come back to this. The 2024 Emmy for Best Comedy Series.
Locked in.
The Bear? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't pay attention to television anymore.
Brittany?
In this instance, I am choosing The Bear.
Tim?
If my studying paid off here, I was actually surprised it wasn't The Bear. I think it was Hacks.
It was Hacks.
Oh.
I've legitimately never even heard of that show.
I hadn't either, but I just looked. Basically, the only studying I did was to look up the EGOT
right,
like big winners. So that's why, I didn't necessarily know the Liberty right off the bat, but
we're going to keep this going. Question number 8. Who won the World Series?
Locked in.
Locked in.
I will well, I guess I can talk it out. I think the last World Series was the Nationals versus the Astros, and I think the Astros won, so I'm going to say the Houston Astros.
Mike?
I think that's like 2 series ago, Brittany. I almost balked after you asked WNBA. I was like, okay, I bet World Series is coming. It's not the Rangers. That was last year. It's the Dodgers this year. Is the Dodgers.
Tim?
I also said the Dodgers. Shohei.
I already wrote down your point. I already put a little tick mark next to your name.
I'm really proud of myself.
I'm still proud of you. You pulled that.
It wasn't the actual one, but it was.
For 2018.
Well, that was when they won, but they played the Astros. The Astros won like 2 years ago.
Was that against the Nationals though? I thought that was the Phillies.
It was the Phillies. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right.
The Nationals have been crap for a couple of years now. All right.
Yep.
Last question of your opening round. Who won the National Women's Soccer League Championship?
Locked in.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock in.
Okay.
Come on, Tim. Don't ruin your perfect game.
Right. That's why I'm trying to dig so hard on this one.
And that's why she mentioned it.
Right. And I am going to say, we'll say Portland. I don't think it was Portland, but we're going to say Portland.
Mike?
I was in a similar region. I said Seattle.
Brittany?
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you say what the question is again? Because I feel like I'm fundamentally misunderstanding something.
The National Women's Soccer League Championship.
Okay, I did misunderstand something. I thought you said international when I locked in. Do you mind if I change my answer to something national?
Fine with me.
Don't care.
You know what? I'm just going to go with what I thought was the answer because I thought it was the International Women's World Cup, and I'm going to say the Netherlands. And I will just be very wrong.
It's okay. I think we all will.
Unfortunately, no correct answers there. This would be the Orlando Pride.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? The Netherlands have orange. Florida is orange. I'm close.
Yeah, there you go.
Coming out of your pregame, Mike's got 3. Brittany's got 5. Tim has 8. Going into round 1, each of these questions is worth 10 points apiece. Here we go. Standard lock-in rules apply. The World Health Organization officially declared Egypt free from what disease? This vector-borne disease has been in the country for thousands of years and may have contributed to the death of Tutankhamun, and the construction of the Aswan Dam in the 1960s increased disease rates. Partnerships with neighboring countries and free screening and treatment enabled rates to decline throughout that country and was certified disease-free after 3 years with no reported cases. What disease was it?
I'm going to lock in.
I will also lock in.
That question had a bunch of words in it. I knew some of them. I do not know. This sounds like an awesome thing, but I do not know. and diseases are not my forte. So I will just say tuberculosis.
Brittany.
I recognized some of the words in that question as well. I'm assuming with the construction of the Aswan High Dam, it has something to do with waterborne viruses because that would make them easier to contract if you're gathering the water. I remember there was something recent about coming up with a vaccine for Ebola, but that was recent enough that I don't think it would have been Ebola being eradicated just yet. So I'm going to say West Nile. West Nile virus.
And Tim.
I agreed with Brittany. I went vector-borne Egypt. The Nile goes through Egypt. Let's go West Nile.
West Nile is not a bad guess, but unfortunately, this would be malaria.
I almost said
okay.
malaria too. Damn.
That
I
was my
did
coin
think about
flip.
malaria.
Yep.
All right, no points there. Moving on to question number 2, a much shorter question. A tiny taco stand in Mexico City was the first food vendor of its kind to be awarded which designation?
I'll lock
Oh,
it.
lock in.
I'll lock in.
Locked in.
I'll just talk it out. If it's a food designation that would be unique to go to a taco stand or a food truck, I'm going to say Michelin star.
Mike.
I actually maybe got too specific there because I said I think the maximum Michelin star rating is 3 stars. So that's what I said. Three-star Michelin rating.
Tim.
I also just said Michelin star. I almost asked how specific you want us to be, like 1, 2, or 3, but I just said Michelin star rating.
So the answer I have is Michelin star. Let me validate. I thought when I looked at this a couple weeks
It probably did
1
not get
star.
3. That was probably ambitious on my part.
It is a 1 Michelin star rating. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
Mike, you're not going to get the points. Brittany and Tim are. We are moving on to question number 3. Baby pygmy hippos have become some of the hottest internet stars of 2024. Following the global popularity of Mu Dang, what appropriate name, both for location and description, was given to the pygmy hippo born at the Edinburgh Zoo in late October?
Locked in.
I'll lock in.
I know this came up on another podcast. It might have been this one at some point in the not too recent past. I don't know if it was a podcast or if it was Learned League or something. I don't know. Actually, it was probably World Trivia Federation, which I discovered today. And yes, I'm just stalling for time, but I discovered today that I've been playing World Trivia Federation long enough that Jay Borsum has somehow managed to recalibrate my brain so that that is what I think and not what the fuck when I see the abbreviation WTF. So I tip my hat to her on that one. I do not know, given location, everything. I'm going to say Zoodang.
Zoodang. All right. Tim, what'd you go with?
I was all set to lock in with Mudang, and then you put Mudang in the question. And I was like, damn it. So I locked in with Great Scott.
Brittany.
I believe that this little cutie patootie is named Haggis.
It is named Haggis.
Mm-hmm.
Was Scotland in the question and I missed it?
Well, Edinburgh.
Oh, Edinburgh.
Yeah.
No, duh. Yeah, he did say Edinburgh. You're right.
All right.
Yeah. There's a TikTok series I followed called Knights of the Rotund Table, and it's gathering like all the cute, tiny, fat baby animals of the world and putting them around the round table like they're knights in Arthurian legend.
I love it.
And it is precious.
think
And both Haggis and Mudang are knights.
We are moving on to question number 4. What country officially joined NATO in 2024, becoming the 32nd member state?
Locked in?
I'm going to lock in.
I'm pretty sure it's a Scandinavian country. I'm going to say Sweden.
All right, Tim, what'd you say?
I didn't think it would be Sweden. I also was pretty sure it was a Scandinavian one, and I locked in with Norway.
Brittany.
Well, we're keeping things Scandinavian, but slightly differently Scandinavian. I might be not recent enough on this, but I think it was Finland. So I said Finland.
See, Brittany, the funny thing is, my immediate thought was Finland, and my brain goes, no, that's what you said the last time this question came up, and it was wrong, and that's why I rejected it. So if it's Finland, I tip my hat to you, but I'm going to be pissed.
Your correct answer is Sweden. Mike gets
Woo!
points.
All right.
All right. Moving on to question number 5. What U.S. city elected its first black mayor? This is especially significant for the city which once was home to Black Wall Street before it was destroyed during a race massacre in 1921.
Locked in.
Based on the cluing, I'm going to guess this was Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tim.
I had no clue until you gave the Black Wall Street cluing, and I also said Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Brittany.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning a different direction until you said Black Wall Street, and then that locked in Tulsa.
Same.
So Tulsa.
There you go. Tulsa, Oklahoma is a correct answer. Moving on to question number 6. What was special about the Olympic performances of athletes from Albania, Cape Verde, St. Lucia, and Dominica?
I'll lock in.
I will lock in.
So I don't have a clue. My brain went to a couple things. It could be that they were the only representatives of their countries. But the reason I hesitated there was that that wouldn't necessarily be specific to 2024 because there's most Olympic years have several countries that only have a lone representative in a certain event. And then I thought of breakdancing. Maybe they were the breakdancing performers. And that's really about all that I had to pull from. I don't usually pay too much attention to Olympics beyond medal counts. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say they were the first ever breakdancing performers in the breakdancing event at the Olympics.
Tim.
So I also thought that at first that they might have been the only ones from their respective countries, but I at the last minute changed. I know St. Lucia had some notoriety about it's like the first time they've won a gold, or they're I guess basically like I don't know. I think it's that they got their first medals this year. I know something with St. Lucia is like they're the smallest country to ever earn a medal or something to that effect. So I'm going to say they all won their first medals.
Brittany.
Yeah, roughly worded the same way as Tim. I was thinking their first medals for the country, like the first time that country medaled at the Olympics.
That makes much more sense.
If I need to be more specific, I'd say first gold medals, but I was just going to say first medals.
You do not need to be more specific, but they're the first medal winners for their respective countries.
Cool. That's good.
A special shout out to Cindy Winner Jenku, DJANKEU. She also won the first medal for the refugee team. She was rejected from competing for the country of Cameroon due to her sexual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that's our first refugee winner as well.
Good for her.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Question number 7. New regulations in the U.S. means that airlines are now required to automatically do what in the event of a significantly delayed or canceled flight?
Locked in.
Locked in.
I mean, I'm like my brain's going, is it refund your money? Is it give you a voucher? I'm going to say provide a compensation, and then I can be more specific if you want.
Brittany.
I believe that if I want to say it's 6 hours domestically and 4 hours internationally. If you were delayed by that much, they now must issue you a refund.
Tim.
Okay. I was in that same ballpark, but I said put you up in a hotel.
All right. I'm going to award points to 2 of you. It is they do have to give you some sort of a refund. There has to be some sort of financial compensation going back. I don't know if it's a full refund or how that works, so I'm going to give Mike and Brittany both the points.
Yeah, that was my hesitation.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure. I figured there was some sort of compensatory money, but I wasn't sure if it was a full refund or what the deal was.
Yeah.
So.
And the hours I said may be for the full refund versus partial refund,
Right.
but
Yep.
yeah, because I want to say they were like, when that first got announced, there were like things going around like, here's the numbers you can contact if they don't give you your money back. And like, basically, the FAA would launch an investigation if it was reported they weren't following the new regulations.
Yep.
All right, moving on to question number 8. What rock legend can now add, quote, talking someone down from jumping off a bridge to his genuine nice guy credibility? This is in addition to cooking in his restaurant where he serves all regardless of their ability to pay, which goes to show that he deserves the Garden State Parkway rest stop that is named after him, and he really does want you to have a nice day.
Damn it, you should have stopped fucking talking. There's way too many clues in there. Locked in.
Locked in.
Look, I'm sure that question was paved with clues and probably like lots of them to do with song titles or lyrics in songs. However, I don't know, but I know what the Garden State is because I know that's New Jersey. And if I'm thinking rock people from New Jersey, I'm thinking Bruce Springsteen, and that's what I'm going to go with.
Tim.
I also said Bruce Springsteen, though I was debating back and forth with Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi.
Mike?
Well, the fortunate thing is that y'all both went the wrong way when it comes to Garden State. It is Bon Jovi, but once he said Garden State, I was like, don't limit it to the Garden State. It's a 1 and 2 shot at that point.
I didn't
It
know
is,
Bon
but it's
Jovi
Bon
was
Jovi.
from New Jersey.
I thought the Have a Nice Day would have gotten y'all there.
Have a Nice Day was also a good one, yes.
Mike, you're going to pick up the points. John Bon Jovi is what we're looking for.
No, it's a great Sarah. Yeah, Sarah's a wonderful question, but I was just like, it's like the one of the things that I actually had heard, and it just like there was so many clues. I was like, no, don't give it to them.
All right. Question number 9. A gigantic reservoir of deposits of what element, vital in medical and scientific applications, was discovered in Minnesota? There has been a global shortage of this element for several years, and while it occurs naturally and is relatively abundant, it is difficult to store and capture.
With no thunder, I'm going to lock in.
Yeah, I'm going to lock in too.
Oh, so I can think of things that have been in shortage, but it's not necessarily things I would say used in a medical application. But it's the only thing I can think of that's like been in shortage that I suppose could be used for more than just making your voice sound funny. And I'm going to say helium.
Tim.
So I went just very little further down the periodic table. And I thought about something that's been heavily used in the last 20 years because of batteries and stuff like that, but also has a historical medical history, and then went with lithium.
Mike.
For absolutely no reason, barium popped in my head, so that's what I locked in with.
Oh, Mike, you're supposed to bury him deep. Brittany gets the point. It is helium.
Hey.
Hey, real? Okay. I did think of helium too, but for that reason, I knew that it was not that we were having a helium shortage. But
yeah, I mean, my only thought was that it would be very difficult to capture it because it's lighter than air.
Right.
So.
All right. Question number 10, our last question in the second round of our game. While on his way to respond to flooding from Hurricane Helene in North Carolina, Chef Jose Andres, founder of the World Central Kitchen, praised workers at what chain as they were often the only place open during emergencies?
Locked in.
Locked in.
Well, I have an answer. I don't know if it's correct, but I know that certain parts of the country that I used to live in sort of measure weather disasters on the scale of is the Waffle House open or closed, to see just how fucked up your shit's about to get. Those aren't the most scientific of terms, but it's accurate. And so I'm going to say Waffle House.
Tim.
As a resident of the state where Helene hit, and a state that has, well, in my city, there are 2 of them on the same intersection. And knowing that the Waffle House index is a thing. I locked in with Waffle House.
Mike.
For the exact same reasons Brittany enumerated, I locked in with Waffle House.
So I can tell you that when Milton was approaching, the local weather was focused on where the local Waffle Houses in Florida had closed. Waffle House is a correct answer. And it's not a joke. It's a genuine way of measuring the severity of the storm.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
What the impact's going to be.
My only
Index was the word I was
hesitation
trying to think about.
my only hesitation was would a world-renowned chef praise Waffle House?
Yeah.
I'm not a world-renowned chef, but I've had some pretty good food, and let me tell you, I will still tear up some Waffle House.
Honestly, I can't tell you the last time I went to a Waffle House, but it has been too long.
I can tell you the last time. It's when I took my son Christmas shopping. We went to Waffle House, and then we went to
so not since last
shopping.
year.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the second one of the night for those keeping tally at home.
Second one recorded.
Recorded, I should say. Yes.
Truth. It's like the fourth one of the evening.
They don't need to see the deep, dark secrets of what goes on behind the scenes.
So coming out of round one, Brittany, you're going to pick up 70 points. Mike and Tim each picking up 50. Your scores, 53 for Mike, 58 for Tim, 75 for Brittany. It's time for our halftime round. Your halftime round, each correct answer is going to be worth 4 points apiece. The Presidential Medal of Freedom is given to honorees who have made exemplary contributions to the prosperity, values, or security of the United States, world peace, or other significant societal, public, or private endeavors. I will describe 5 of the 19 honorees in 2024. You just have to tell me who they are. Honoree number 1. This posthumous honoree was the first Native American to win an Olympic gold medal. The country's original multi-sport superstar, he went on to play professional football, baseball, and basketball while breaking down barriers on and off the field.
Okay,
I'll
locked
lock
in.
Okay. So I was going one way on this until you said the sports that he played. Because you did mention football in there, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is why I changed it or I'm changing my answer. I was going to say Jesse Owens, but I switched to Jim Thorpe.
Mike.
I said Jim Thorpe as well.
Brittany.
I knew Jim Thorpe was big in multiple sports as a Native American player, so I said Jim Thorpe.
If I recall the story correctly, Jim Thorpe had his shoes stolen at the Olympics and found 2 mismatched pairs of shoes in the trash and then ran and won the Olympic in those.
I think I've heard that story as well, yeah.
All right, we're moving on to question number 2. Jim Thorpe is correct, by the way. Question number 2. This awardee is the first Hispanic woman in space and the second female director, and the second female director of NASA's renowned Johnson Space Center. She has flown in space 4 times, logged nearly 1,000 hours in orbit, and continues to inspire young generations of scientists. Who is she?
Well, she's a director. I know that much.
I'm going to lock in.
I'll lock in.
I don't really have a good answer. I feel like I've heard this before, and I'm probably going to kick myself when I hear her name. But only name that's like popping in my head now is like Maria Salinas or something like that, and I'm going to go with that.
Mike.
I kind of picked a sort of like a Lucky Johnson thing. I picked a Hispanic last name. I said Marquez.
Tim.
And I knew I wasn't going to be able to pull it. I knew my father-in-law would be very disappointed that I wasn't going to be able to pull it. And I didn't want to risk coming up with anything that could be construed as racist. And I locked in with nothing.
No correct answers there. That woman's name is Ellen Ochoa.
Oh,
okay.
I have heard that name. Damn it.
Ellen Ochoa. All right. Question number 3. This honoree is the most decorated female swimmer in history. An athletic prodigy, she has won 7 Olympic gold medals and 21 World Championship gold medals so far. She is still active in her career and will likely add more medals in the future. Who is she?
Locked in.
Locked in.
Well, they beat me to it slightly. I'm guessing this is Ledecky.
Tim?
I also said Katie Ledecky.
Brittany?
Yeah, I believe they measured how far she swam in her professional career, and if you add up all of her races, she's almost swum the circumference of the Earth.
Ha.
So I'm gonna say Katie Ledecky.
Katie Ledecky is a correct answer. All right, back in the win column there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go on to question number 4. This awardee is a journalist and television pioneer who pioneered the daytime issue-oriented television talk show. His show, which had his name in the title, was the first daytime talk show to feature audience participation in one of the most influential television programs of its time. I'll give you a hint. It's not Jerry Springer.
I'll lock in.
I'll lock in.
Oh, I know. I feel like it's probably rattling around somewhere in the back of my brain. I can't get Sally Jesse Raphael out of my head, but I feel like there is somebody who I always assumed based on the name. I never watched any of these shows. I always assumed was a woman based on the name, but was actually a guy, or it was the other way around. And I can't think of who I'm thinking of. So I'm just going to lock in with Sally Jesse Raphael, and I know that's wrong.
Mike?
For some reason, the name Montel Williams got lodged in my head, so that's what I locked in with.
Brittany?
I went with Ed Sullivan.
Ed
Super relevant.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no correct answers. I thought this gentleman passed away last year. And that could have been anywhere from 363 to 2 days ago. A gentleman by the name of Phil Donahue.
Oh, Donahue. Oh, shit.
No, that
Okay.
was not who I was thinking of. Can anybody
Okay.
tell me who it was that I was thinking of?
I have no clue. Sorry.
Okay.
No, sorry, dude. Question number 5. This honoree is the co-founder of a foundation named after her son. It is an organization created in honor of her son, who was murdered in one of the nation's most notorious anti-gay hate crimes, and dedicated to the erasing hate and promoting anti-violence programming. Who is the honoree?
I will lock in.
I will also lock in.
And I hate myself because I'm pretty sure that this is the mother of the Trevor Project person, would be who I would be thinking of. But I don't know who that is, so I have nothing. Also, the person I was thinking of was Ricky Lake.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense. Okay.
I always assumed it was a man show and then learned it was a woman.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
That's
She's
who
in
I was
Hairspray.
thinking of.
Gotcha.
So I locked in with nothing.
Mike?
So I'll be honest, I did not think of the Trevor Project, but when I thought of what you were describing, an infamous murder, I thought of Matthew Shepard. I could not possibly tell you his mother's first name, so I went with Jeopardy rules and locked in with Shepard.
Brittany?
I think Matthew Shepard is really reasoned out. I also assumed this was the co-founder of the Trevor Project, but I don't know her name, so I'm going to go with Kids School Rules and call her Ms. Trevor's mom.
Unfortunately not. Mike is going to get the points.
Oh,
This would be Judy Shepard, the mother
Judy.
of
Okay.
Matt Shepard. And the only reason I remember that name is because there was a movie that came out, an HBO original movie came out in like the early 2000s called The Laramie Project.
Yeah,
Which
I saw a live performance of that when I was at Vanderbilt. It was
heartbreaking.
heartbreaking, very very powerful.
Really?
It was a very interesting performance because after it was done, all of the actors came into the audience and thanked and shook everybody's hand individually and thanked them for seeing the show, just because it was such a important story to be told, but heartbreaking.
Well, with that, coming out of our halftime round, Mike, you just picked up 12 points. Tim and Brittany picking up 8 points each. Going into the round 4 of our game, Mike's got 65. Tim has 66. Brittany's got 83. Here we go. To brighten people's day and add some joy to a daily commute, a group of Bostonians rallied to request that the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority put what on their trains? Surprisingly, the MBTA went ahead and granted their request and mounted pairs of what objects on several trains?
I'll lock in.
I'll also lock in.
I have no idea. For whatever reason, I'm going to say googly eyes.
Tim.
Oh, that's so much of a better answer than what I'm gonna lock in with, because Boston is full of assholes. I said that they hung truck hitch balls.
I thought you were going to say googly assholes for a
I
second.
love it. No, I think they hung, those truck hitch testicles.
Truck nuts? They put truck nuts on the
Would you put it past Boston?
It just feels like that would be a more of an North Carolina, Alabama thing to do.
Brittany.
I think Mike actually has this correct, but what I said was a pair of red animated socks filled with beans. And Duncan. Because Boston.
America does run on that.
Mike is going to get the points. They did put googly eyes on some of their trains.
That is amazing.
I was literally about to lock in with
Alabama bus route.
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny. I was literally about to just say, I don't know, smiley faces. And then out of nowhere, googly eyes popped into my head.
All right. Question number 2. For the first time since the 1600s, the Nansemond Indian Nation was able to host what type of gathering on land they officially owned?
I'll lock in.
Sure, I'll lock in.
Wow. What type of gathering on land they officially owned? I just don't know. That's really the short answer. So I'm gonna mess up like a terminology, but would it be like the recognition of a new tribal chief? I really don't know.
Tim.
Well, I figured this term has to come from somewhere, and I think Mike said half of the answer when he first responded to the question, and I said powwow.
Brittany.
I also think I've read somewhere that powwow is the name for a celebration, so I also said powwow.
That's because powwow is the correct answer.
Okay.
All right.
I wondered if Mike was going to jar his own memory when he was like, wow.
Wow.
I have no idea. And they go, oh, powwow.
I mean, good to Chris for not giving anything away.
Oh, Lordy. All right. Question number 3. Dora Richter, who was thought to have been killed during a Nazi raid on the Institute of Sexology, was the first person to undergo which procedure? It was found this year that she survived the war and lived to an old age of 74 before passing away in the 60s.
I will lock in.
I will go ahead and lock in.
I don't know. I will say hysterectomy.
Tim.
I went with gender reassignment.
Brittany.
Similar, not sure exactly the wording, but I said gender affirmation surgery.
Gender affirmation or reassignment surgery is a correct answer. Nicely done.
It's the first thing that popped in my head, but I didn't know how to phrase it. So,
all right. Question number 4. What actor, martial artist, and chemical engineer didn't let cancer break him as he celebrated that he's cancer-free after a 9-year battle? He was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2015 with a prognosis of 2 years. But unlike his breakout role, he won this fight.
Locked in.
Locked in.
Actor who's also a chemical engineer? I mean, it's fascinating. And I'm guessing he starred in some kind of punchy movie. Like his breakout role. I don't know. I'm going to say Sylvester Stallone.
Mike.
It's so sad how close you are, Brittany, because it's the guy Sly beat in Rocky IV. It's Dolph Lundgren.
Tim.
Yeah, I actually got this before all the cluing because I did know that he was a scientist. But the break him is a reference to I must break you. He lost in the fight. Thankfully, cancer didn't say if he dies, he dies. And it's Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren is a correct answer. All right. Mike and Tim picking up the points. We are moving on to question number 5. While the summer camp selling itself off may not sound like the opening to a good news story, why did one Heartland camp, which was for children living with or affected by HIV and AIDS, close this year?
Locked in.
Locked in.
I'm going to pick the only good reason for a summer camp to close, and that is there were not enough kids with HIV and AIDS to require a summer camp.
Tim.
I basically said the same thing, and they didn't have enough campers or couldn't find any campers.
Mike.
Exactly the same thing. That seemed like a good news story for this particular type of camp.
It is a good news story. That's because that is correct. Advances in medication has been a great thing, and that's a really a good news story.
Amen.
Moving on to question number 6. What South Asian country is poised to become the first in the region and the third in Asia overall to legalize same-sex marriage after a Senate vote in 2024? While the country has a reputation for acceptance and inclusivity, there has been a struggle to gain marriage equality due to a historically conservative government. But with the king's sign-off on marriage equality, it will be the law as of January of 2025.
I'm going to lock in.
I'll lock in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just spinning a couple different potential answers in my head. And I'm just going to sit for whatever reason, the first nation that popped in my head was Malaysia, so I'm going to lock in with that.
Tim.
I went Thailand.
Brittany.
I went, I think, too far in a cardinal direction, but you said king, and so I was thinking of countries that have kings that are in South Asia, and I said Jordan.
Unfortunately, Tim is going to be picking up the point.
Damn it.
No, that's unfortunate.
I literally thought Malaysia, then Thailand, but because Malaysia popped first, that's what I went with. Good job, Tim.
Mike, do you want to know how I know it wasn't Malaysia?
How's that?
Because it's Zoolander, because the person that runs Malaysia is a prime minister.
Oh, that's a great point.
Doesn't matter how
I didn't even pick up. I honestly didn't even pick up on the king thing until after Brittany started talking. Yeah.
Unfortunately, Tim's going to pick up 10 points there. We're moving on to the next question. Question number 7. As evidenced by the return of bucket hats, chokers, and chunky shoes, the style of many of our childhoods is back upon us. This isn't just for people, apparently. Researchers in the Pacific Northwest recently found that orcas are wearing what on their heads? This was previously observed in the late 80s when a single female orca started sporting one, and within weeks, the rest of her pod had too.
Locked in.
I will lock in.
Mike hasn't moved.
Yeah, I'm not frozen. I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out, like, do I lock in with flannel? Like, you know, I mean, we're conjuring up like
well, it is the Pacific Northwest,
and that's exactly my point, right?
They're entering their grunge era,
right? Exactly, yeah. Geez, Louise, I have no idea. They're wearing Vans. No,
literal Vans
on their non-existent feet. God, I love this question. I just have no idea where to go with it. Started wearing it on. You did specify on her head, right? On their heads.
On their heads.
Okay, so, I was unaware of 90s fashion trends in the 90s, so this is not helping me at all. I'm going to say she's wearing a scrunchie. I don't know.
Brittany.
I went with something completely sensible for an orca to wear on her head. That was also relative to 90s fashion, and I'm going to say a giant ass puka shell.
Tim?
So here's what's happening in the Pacific Northwest. Now I don't know how specific you want me to be, but basically there is a trend catching on with orcas because one orca was spotted with a dead fish carcass on their head, and then suddenly like several others started doing it.
So I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Literally the first thing that popped in my head, but based on all of the cluing about fashion, I didn't think that was the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm mad.
I also thought some sort of dead critter.
Brings you back to the fact that this was a fashion trend, theoretically.
Yeah,
it happened in the 80s and it all picked up, and then it didn't happen again for like 20 years. And then all of a sudden this year, you just see orcas swimming around the ocean with, I don't know if it was specifically salmon, which is why I wasn't sure how specific you wanted me to be, but it was dead fish. They were basically wearing dead fish hats.
Tim, I am going to have to hurt your feelings. If this was the 80s and then now that's like 40 years. Like 40.
Shut up.
So old.
I was told there would be no math.
Two of us were around 40 years ago, so the other two of you can pipe down.
That's a good point. All right. Tim, unfortunately, I cannot give you credit because it's mackerel. They were wearing mackerel on their heads.
My answer was fish.
I know. You weren't specific enough, sir.
Give him the points.
No, don't. He's beating us.
Salmon.
I know he's beating us. He's not beating you. He's beating me.
No, I think he's beating both of us now.
Actually, he is beating you, both of us now.
We're moving on to question number 8. The Pete and Thomas Foundation, founded by what rapper and Houston native, partnered with the Bread of Life Foundation to donate generators to seniors who are left without power following Hurricane Beryl?
I'll lock in with an answer.
I'm going to lock in with an answer too.
Okay. So Pete and Thomas is not really getting me a lot of places. I know Beyonce is from Houston, but I wouldn't call her a rapper. Not like in a bad way, just that's not really her genre. But I think Megan Thee Stallion is from Houston, and she does a lot of great work, and this would be right up her alley to do. So I'm going to say Megan Thee Stallion.
Tim.
I had a similar line of thought at the beginning. Was Beyonce's from Houston, but I don't know of any association with Pete or Thomas, and I wouldn't call her a rapper. She's a generational singer. She's R&B, but I wouldn't call her a rapper, but that's beside the point. I just put Macklemore out there. I don't know where Macklemore is from, but
Seattle.
Okay.
He's wearing a dead salmon on his head right now.
Macklemore mackerel?
It's a mackerel more.
Mackerel more? He got from the thrift shop.
Mike.
So I honestly, I happened to read a story earlier today about how 50 Cent was a very generous tipper. And I thought he seems like a good guy. So I locked in with 50, even though it didn't fit any of the question at all, because I knew I wasn't going to get it.
Well, one of you is getting the points.
I bet you it's not me.
Her last name is Pete. It is Megan Thee Stallion.
Hey.
That's Megan U Stallion for you non-Shakespearean people.
I hate you.
I'm sorry. I'll never stop making that joke.
I feel like there's some episode titles right here in this
Yada,
question.
yada, yada.
Mackerel more, Megan U Stallion.
Based on mRNA technology, the human trials for a vaccine for which type of cancer began in the UK. This type is the leading cause of cancer deaths worldwide, with the highest risk factor being due to partaking in a certain activity.
Locked in.
Oh, I was thinking a different type of cancer, but I think based on a certain activity might make more sense. I'm going to say lung cancer, because I could see with COVID being an mRNA vaccine, that they maybe could transcribe into some sort of treatment for lung cancer. So I'm going to say lung cancer.
Mike.
The respiratory thing actually, Ty. When you said mRNA, I thought of the COVID vaccine, and the respiratory thing makes sense. I also locked in with lung cancer just based on the whole activity causing cancer thing.
Tim.
Yeah, I like that Brittany was able to connect it better than I was, but based on the activity, I went with lung cancer.
Lung cancer is a correct answer. We are down to our final question of the round. Technically, this is 2023 good news bleeding into 2024. But Nakia Jackson and Calcia Johnson, two Louisiana high schoolers, recently published a paper in the American Mathematical Monthly with multiple new proofs of what mathematical theorem. Last year, they made headlines by finding a trigonometric proof, which was thought impossible for this thousands of year old theorem.
I'll lock in.
I'll lock in too.
Okay. So, Tim, obviously we were not told there would be no math. But I'm trying to think through of what kind of proof there would be, and trigonometric functions makes me think Pythagoras, but I don't think he had like a lost theorem or anything. And plus he was the trigonometry guy, so he probably would. But I could see maybe like the Archimedes sieve having some impossible nature to it that maybe would make it unlikely to have a trigonometric proof. But now that I'm saying that, maybe I'm just bullshitting and I don't know anything about mathematical proofs because one of those statements is true and two are a lie. I don't know. But now that I've said it, I do think actually Pythagoras had some theorems that were conjecture but never proven. So I'm going to say Pythagoras' theorem.
Okay. Mike.
So I briefly thought of Pythagorean theorem, but then but it was actually after I kind of locked in, because I immediately locked in thinking I'm not going to be able to reason myself to this. But when I think of mathematical theorems and presenting additional proofs, I thought, and then as Brittany was talking, I was like, oh, this makes potentially even more sense, although I'm probably wrong. But I thought of Fermat's last theorem, which is basically an extension of Pythagorean's theorem in a way, because Pythagorean's theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Fermat's last theorem, which was only first proven like within this century, I think, is that basically a to the x plus b to the x equals c to the x is impossible for any values of x greater than 2. I'm probably screwing that up. Math nerds, correct me. But so long story short, I locked in with Fermat's last theorem.
I did think of that, but I also thought it wasn't thousands of years old.
That was my hesitation, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tim.
I went the same way as Brittany. For some reason, it rang a bell that something was proven regarding the Pythagorean theorem, and I was like, I thought that was just known fact, but I locked in with the Pythagorean theorem.
Brittany and Tim are going to pick up the point. It was the Pythagorean theorem. All right, that means going into our wager round, our scores are as follows. Mike, you picked up 40 points. That brings you to 105. Brittany picked up 60. That brings her to 143. Tim picked up 80. That brings him to 146 and a world record for the world's best Googler. Nicely done, sir. Nice.
Pre-show Googler, but Googler nonetheless.
Pre-show Googler. Let's be clear.
I'm the world's best you Googler.
So there are only 2 wager round questions. You're going to wager your points in any way, shape, or form that you want, but you must, 1, wager whole numbers only. And 2, you cannot wager more than the points you've already accumulated. Your wager round categories are food and money.
Oh.
Food and money. Lock in your wagers now. All right. And wagers are locked in. We've got 2 questions here. Let's go through this one by one. Question number 1, the category of food. What is the price of Costco's hot dog and soda combination? Despite price increases and inflation, the company's CEO proclaimed that this price, which has been the same since 1985, is, in his words, safe.
Locked in.
I only hesitated slightly because I knew you guys were going to harmonize and I wanted to hear it. Locked in.
Question number 2. The category is money. Since 2022, the U.S. Mint has produced quarters featuring notable women in U.S. history. What woman, a Cuban-born singer known as the Queen of Salsa, is the first Afro-Latin person to be featured on U.S. currency as of her recent inclusion in the series?
Locked in.
Locked in.
Yeah, I'll lock in with the wrong answer.
All right, let's go through this piece by piece. Starting with question number 1, the category is food. What is the price of Costco's hot dog and soda combination? Despite price increases and inflation, the company's CEO proclaimed that this price, which has been the same since 1985, is, in his words, safe. Let's start with Tim, your answer and your wager.
I put 20 on this one because food is not a good category for me. And I said $1.50.
Brittany.
Well, I wagered 26 on this one. And HOTDOGS, $1.50.
Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to need about 150. I wagered 0 on this one because food is not my strong category either. But yeah, $1.50.
$1.50 is a correct answer. You're all going to pick up your wagers. Mike, you don't lose anything, though, so that's a good thing.
Sweet.
Question number 2. It all comes down to this. The category was money. Money, money, money.
Money.
There we go. Since 2022, the U.S. Mint has produced quarters featuring notable women in U.S. history. What woman, a Cuban-born singer known as the Queen of Salsa, is the first Afro-Latin person to be featured on U.S. currency as of her recent inclusion in the series? Mike, your answer and your wager.
It's wrong. I don't even think she was born in Cuba. I locked in Gloria Estefan.
Tim, answer and wager.
What was your wager, Mike?
Oh, I wagered 0 on that one too. I was hoping you guys would duke it out and then I would just come out on top. But I'm not relevant here. Come
on. I put 20 on this one as well, and I had no idea, but I have a vague recollection of somebody named Selena, so I just put Selena.
Brittany, your answer and your wager.
So money's not a good category for me. So I put 48 on this one for reasons that have not panned out. But once you read it out, I locked in immediately. This is Celia Cruz.
This is Celia Cruz. And with that, Brittany, you're going to take the win tonight. Nicely done.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
Tim, you're going to come in second. And Mike, you're going to come in third, which means, Mike, we're going to be playing your revenge game on our bonus episode dropping on Friday night. You want to tell them what your revenge topic is?
My revenge topic is 90s Simpsons.
Either of you Simpsons fans?
No.
I've seen some stuff.
Okay.
They're too young.
To make this fair.
Okay, I came out 1 month before The Simpsons. Okay.
I watched the debut episode as it aired, so.
To make this fair, we're going to let Brittany and Tim team up on Mike.
Naturally.
Or as we call that, Mike stream on a Friday night. All right.
Congratulations on your win, Mike.
We jumped.
Congratulations on your win, Brittany. That's the relevant thing.
But before we take off, let's let our panelists give a shout out, talk about any causes or anything they're passionate about. Let's start with our loser of losers, Mr. Mike Mott.
You know what's funny is I'm never prepared for this, and you would think that I would be by now. First, I do want to shout out my wife, Nikki, for always taking care of getting the kids down when we have recordings. She's awesome, and she only sighs semi-deeply when it happens. No, she's great. Beyond that, let's see. I will shout out just general kindness, because being kind to people is a good thing, and it always feels good and pays dividends. So I will recommend that to everyone.
All right, Tim.
Well, I will obviously shout out the fact that I'm over on Frenemy Trivia with Brittany. Both Chris and Mike have been on the show. Obviously, it's here on the PTE network. If you listen to the show, you are aware of it. The other thing I will shout out is that I run a monthly trivia podcast called The Perfect 10 Pop Quiz over with my buddy Mike Cohen over on the Thunderquack Network. He designed the Frenemy the Frenemy logos and the caricatures and everything. He does great work. Basically, the way Perfect 10 Pop Quiz works is every month Mike brings on somebody to talk about some movie, TV show, video game, album that they consider to be a perfect 10, whether it's critically acclaimed or not. And they spend an hour or so just talking about why they love it and stuff like that. And then I write a 10-question quiz podcast, Unheard, about that topic. So I don't know what they're talking about, but I know the topic, and I write 10 trivia questions and answers about that as a little companion, fun little thing. We've done topics such as Ghostbusters, Transformers, the movie, the soundtrack specifically. And by Transformers the movie, I mean the 1980s cartoon movie, not any of the more modern adaptations. We've done Roman Holiday. The new one is Hook, that just came out. And I'm going to be on talking about Final Fantasy X here next month. Just, anything that is kind of a perfect 10.
Very, very nice. Brittany.
Yeah, I'll also plug Frenemy where Tim and I can be found. Also, Sarah, who wrote the game, is there too.
Mhm.
And Bainey is our other new host. It's been great having them on the network. Also, as we're recording this, we are wrapping up the second annual Trivia Adventure Calendar and 12 Days of Quizmas. We still have a few more quizzes to go live, but so far this year, for this, we've raised over $7,500, 80% of which is going to charity. So we're just splitting that in between Trans Lifeline and World Central Kitchen. So we're, I think we're something like going to be able to give over $2,800 to each charity at this point, which is awesome. And then the other thing I will say is as we round into 2025, you may notice if you're like me and those targeted ads start thinking that new year, new me means you should get into diet culture. Just a reminder that all bodies are beautiful and that if you want to lose weight to get healthy, by all means do that, but consult a physician. Don't just join a fad diet because it's New Year's and you want to drop a bunch of weight fast. Do things that are healthy for you and ultimately add to your life rather than just taking away stuff. So that is my personal shout out. And Simba's personal shout out is he wants me to get out of this chair so he can sit there. But currently he's just sitting behind me and he's going to have to deal with it. So
With Brittany's nice little body positivity message there, I'm going to get up on this desk and coyote ugly my way out of here. Everyone, have a great night. We'll see you next week. Bye.